This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you courtesy of Michelob Ultra Beer.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome, everyone, to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed in the Culverhouse College of Business, all housed at the University of Alabama. Thanks for joining us. This show focuses on the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace trends, shaping the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace all around us, with a focus on content that will help Alabama businesses. Today, I will be in the studio with a gentleman named David Steele. He's the managing partner of Monroe Meat Company in Beatrice, Alabama. If you've ever had Monroe Sausage, and I hope you have, you can find it in many of the Rouses and the Piggly Wigglies around here, as well as other places. David is the managing partner of that organization, and he's going to tell us a wonderful story, a really impressive story, about how Beatrice was just crushed by Hurricane Ivan. And the sausage company disappeared for a while, and David and a group of investors revived it because of the quality of the product and has set about making it a more and more popular product in our neck of the woods and has had some very quick and good results after an extraordinary amount of work. We're going to hear this story from David when we come back from break, and he and I will be in the studio together. Prior to going into the conversation with David, though, I want to follow up on a commitment I made on last week's show, and that is Sam Yates. Sam Yates is the CEO of Eagle Solar and Light, and explained to me how the states surrounding our state are just packed, that's my term, not his, with solar power. That there are tens of thousands of buildings, both commercial and residential, in Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia, lots more in Florida, many more as you continue up the eastern seaboard, tens of thousands of buildings with solar power on the top. How many buildings in the state of Alabama have some sort of solar power? 500. 500. Where even Mississippi, and you know what I'm implying when I say that, where even Mississippi has tens of thousands of them. My commitment on that show was to sniff around a little bit and see if I couldn't learn why. And here's what I've learned in a very short look. Maybe there's more content coming here, but a short look. This comes out of a website called Solar Reviews. Is it an activist website? It is. It undoubtedly is. So let's assume only about half of it's true. But what they're telling me is that Alabama Power, working with the Public Service Commission in the state of Alabama, essentially charges about $50 per household per month, $50 per commercial building per month to have access to the Alabama Power grid system if there's a solar panel on the roof. So if I want to put a solar panel on my house, I'm going to have to pay a $50 a month tax in order to access Alabama Power. They consider it a privilege to access their power, and if you want to use solar, you got to pay $50 extra a month to access, essentially driving any sort of cost savings from a solar panel out of the deal. When you look at it, and this article goes on, is it an activist article? It is. Nevertheless, when you look at the donations to the 3 public service commissioners for the state of Alabama, who's giving them boatloads of money, the 3 of them in total have received well over $500,000. So it sounds and it looks, and this article wants it to sound and look this way, deeply suspicious that we have 500 solar panels in the state of Alabama, yet surrounding us are tens of thousands of solar panels in those states. And I just don't like it. I don't like it that if I wanted to use that, I've got to pay an additional tax that is being approved, if I read this correctly, by the Public Service Commission. So what did I do as trying to be responsible? I reached out to the Public Service Commission, and you know what they said? Nothing. No reply. They took my message. No reply. I'll keep it up, I promise you. When we come back, David Steele and I in the studio talking about his fantastic product, the Monroe Meat Company and Monroe Sausage and the other items that they produce. Before we go to break, let me get a plug in here for Sandifer Wealth Management. Something you need to know. Planning for a long-term care event not only helps protect your financial future, but also your family's emotional peace of mind. Contact Sandifer Wealth Management and they'll help you develop a plan so you and your family feel prepared for whatever needs may arise. I can speak to this personally. Sandifer Wealth Management, Jamie Sandifer, Mark Salyers. Find them out, get them on the phone, tell them about your issues, let them offer you some ideas and some thoughts. Good people, friends of mine. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed in the Culverhouse College of Business at the University of Alabama. We'll be right back after this break with David Steele, Managing Partner, Monroe Meat Company.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed at the Culverhouse College of Business at the University of Alabama. In the studio with me today is David Steele. He's the managing partner of the Monroe Meat Company based in Beatrice, Alabama. You may be familiar with their prize product, Monroe Sausage. It's absolutely delicious, and am glad to have somebody talking to me about this in the studio today. David, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Hey, thank you, Cam. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today.
Your website is full of content about the history of the company. It has full of content about where to get the sausage. It's full of content about the different products that you offer. But the thing that caught me the most on your website was the story of the company, of the Monroe Sausage Company, or I'm sorry, the Monroe Meat Company. If you would, take me back in time to the 40s when this story begins and tell me how you came to be.
Okay, the original owners had what was called at that time Monroeville Meats and Cold Storage, right off the downtown square in Monroeville. They were slaughtered and cut meat for individuals, did a little meat market business. Went reasonably well for them. There were local events like the Hog Parade, Hog Festival, things that took place in the late 40s, early 50s. The original owners sold out, though, in the 50s to two gentlemen, Bill Causey and Jimmy McMillan. And it was Bill and Jimmy who developed the spice blend and began to do the Monroe sausage, or what at that time was called Monroeville brand sausage. And that recipe, after they tweaked it and worked with it, began using it in 1959. And we still use the same spice blend and meat blend today that they used then, although in a new facility.
Keep going.
Okay, so they did real well. They were a local mom and pop type operation. Still did some of the slaughtering and thing for local people that brought in, animals, both cows and hogs. But they began to move into more of the just local butcher shop type arrangement. A lot of retail sales. Developed quite a following in the area and in surrounding areas. Interestingly, Cam, most local people referred to the sausage not as Monroeville brand sausage, but as Jimmy Sausage.
Oh, really?
Jimmy was Jimmy McMillan, one of the owners, and he was the salesperson of the two. Mr. Causey was the butcher, ran the processing side, and Jimmy was out at the front counter or going to grocery stores. And so if you, back in those days, went to a local grocery store to buy the sausage, you'd walk up to the counter and you'd see a cardboard box, white cardboard box, 10 pounds of sausage sitting on the counter. and you'd say, I need 3 pounds of that Jimmy sausage.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was sold. I actually worked during Christmas at a little local store in Beatrice where I live, just helping out during the busy time. And first thing in the morning, we'd take the box of sausage out of the refrigerator cooler and put it on the counter. It smoked, and folks came in and bought it just that way. And that was the way they operated. Later on, as they moved away from the hog and beef processing, deer hunting was becoming a big thing. And so they began to process deer. In the early 70s or mid-70s, they hired at that time, younger guy, a guy about my age, to work for them named Jeff Kersier. And over a period of years, Jeff took on a greater and greater role as they began to move toward retirement. Mm-hmm. And eventually, Jeff became the owner of, Monroe Sausage.
So in the 50s, were they I need you to come into that microphone a little bit more as we talk. In the 50s, what was distribution? Was it entirely local, or did they do Southeast Alabama, Southwest Alabama?
Entirely local.
Entirely local.
They may have ventured out to adjacent counties,
right?
Over to to Conecuh County.
Yeah.
We all are familiar with Conecuh Sausage. They've done a great job. When there was Monroe Meats and Cold Storage, there was what was then called Conecuh Quick Freeze. Same sort of operation.
Yeah, same story, huh?
Yeah, very, very similar. But obviously the Conecuh people knew they had a winner and promoted it on a much, much larger scale years ago. And to their great credit, done a super job. But at the same time, we are now trying to carve out our little piece of that market.
Yeah, yes. No kidding. So they've got this local market. They've got this wonderful tasting sausage that the locals would ask for by name. And then, according to the printed story on the website, Hurricane Ivan snuck up. Tell me about that.
Yes, 2004, Hurricane Ivan came through. Our area really took a direct hit. Yeah. I mean, it was bad along the coast, of course, but we still had hurricane force winds in Beatrice. The facility at that time, since it was right off the downtown square in Monroeville, Jeff had sold the original building actually to a car dealership that was right next door. And you can literally walk out the front door of where the original building was and look at the old Monroe County Courthouse, mm-hmm. I mean, right there. And realizing it was really better suited for a more rural environment, he bought a facility out from town, and it was actually that facility that was destroyed in Hurricane Ivan. Mm-hmm. And so Jeff Kersier, not able at that point to do anything to get everything rebuilt, took another job, and Monroe Sausage was history for the moment. My family has been in timberland management for years. We have an office in Beatrice. My father and his brother and brother-in-law ran that company later on. My brother and first cousin are the primary owners of that. We're sitting around the timber office one day, and my dad says, hey guys, what's going on with Jimmy Sausage? I miss it. I'm not crazy about the alternative, and what do you know? And I said, well, Dad, I don't know. I'll call Jeff and see what's going on, and called Jeff, and a couple of phone calls and a couple of meetings, and we agreed to get together a group to invest and to build a new facility, and brought Jeff in to run it. We formed our LLC in 2005. Construction took place most of 2006 and early 2007, and then we began to produce in mid-2007.
I love the story that it began with guys creating sausage for the locals. It remained local, and then it was a local after the destruction of the facility, after Hurricane Ivan, that said, we want this back, and pulled it to life yet again, and here it is today. That same recipe, still kicking and screaming, doing very well in the marketplace, and doing, like I said, growing. That's just remarkable.
Yeah, we went through, Cam, so many struggles early on.
Yeah.
Jeff did a great job, just on the production side. We're thinking, when I say we, the new ownership group, we got this great product. We got a guy that knows how to make it. We've got the resources to get it up and running, and it'll just sell itself. And boy, we were wrong.
Yeah.
We really had no idea what we were signing off on. We tried all sorts of different approaches. We tried different food brokers, and they were all good people, but we just couldn't find the right sustainable path. I mean, we really couldn't.
Tell me about that. Now, I've told you who my listener is. It's a business influencer in their company. You thought it would sell itself, but it didn't. What was what happened?
We didn't understand. The owners didn't understand what it took working through brokers to gain access to distribution warehouses, and to then within those store groups to do the promotion that you had to do to gain a foothold. I mean, there are other brands that are out there that are very, very well established. People like them. Why would a person walk into a store having never eaten our sausage before and say, hey, I'm going to pick up that Monroe sausage?
Right.
So that meant doing demos in stores. That meant running promotions in different store groups. That meant having brokers that were following up with the different meat market managers. I mean, it was really a consuming job. And again, we did not take into account how much time it was going to require from us. I mean, I'm a practicing attorney.
Right.
My family has this timberland management business. We all had full-time jobs.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we have another company that we've invested a good bit of money in building this facility, and it needs full-time attention.
So let me understand this correctly. Between you, the manufacturer, and me, the end user, the consumer, there is a broker, there is a distributor, and is there a meat department manager as well?
Well, that is correct. Let's talk about retail first.
Yeah.
So in retail, we currently are distributed through 3 warehouses, the Piggly Wiggly warehouse and the Associated Grocers warehouses, both in the Birmingham area, and Associated Wholesale Grocers, which is a warehouse in Pearl River, Louisiana. So the first thing we have to do is get those warehouses to agree to stock our product.
Yeah.
Then we've got to go to individual stores or store groups and get those stores and store groups to agree to pull that product from the warehouse. Then we've got to do something in the individual stores to get the customers to pick it up off the shelf.
Let's stop there and take a break. This is interesting. I want to hear what it took to get the attention of the customers as well as the stores. This is a sales job that I think we'll be interested in hearing about, something that we can all learn from this as a process. You're listening to What's Working. We're going to go to break. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culverhouse College of Business at the University of Alabama. I'm in the studio this morning with David Steele of the Monroe Meat Company. We'll be right back.
This is Trey Langus with Transworld Business Advisors. I help business owners sell their businesses from mom-and-pop size to large mergers and acquisitions. We have a huge buyer database looking for quality businesses to buy right now. Confidentiality guaranteed. If you're a business owner considering an exit within the next few years, let's talk. Again, I'm Trey Langus. Find me at Transworld Business Advisors or Google my name.
Customer service never goes out of style. In fact, I think it's safe to say that customer service is more valuable and more important now more than ever. Hi, this is Cam Marston. One thing that my over 200 episodes of What's Working has taught me is how important customer service is to building and maintaining a thriving business. It's the growing need for customer service that's led me to partner with one of the state's leading customer service trainers to create our program called Delivering 5-Star Customer Service. Your team will get one 90-minute training session per month for 6 consecutive months. Each session builds on the skills learned the previous month, allowing your customer-facing teams to practice before moving on to the next lesson. And the 6 lessons address everything from appearance to electronic communications to conflict resolution to maintaining a service mindset. Our program travels and is delivered in person at your workplace, nothing virtual. You simply can't practice the level of the skills this course teaches virtually. For more information, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's schedule a time to talk. Remember, you have less to fear from outside competition than you do from discourtesy and bad service from inside your own company. Again, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's talk about your business. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culver House College of Business at the University of Alabama. In the studio with David Steele. He's the managing partner of Monroe Meat Company. You may be familiar with Monroe Sausage. They're based in Beatrice, Alabama. David, prior to the break, you were talking about trying to get distribution of this. You had to get a broker. You had to get a distribution warehouse, which now you have 3 of them. And then you had to catch the attention of these stores and the consumers in the store. It seems to me you could have hired an entire workforce to do this for you, but it was done by you yourselves, was it not?
It really was. We have the ownership group became active, and let me take a little bit of a detour, Kim, if I may. All these different things that we did, we would find something that would work reasonably well for a while, but it would not necessarily sustain itself. We worked with some different brokers. They were good people. You're probably familiar with Ray Scott with bass fishing fame. Mr. Ray was driving through Beatrice one day, just out riding the back roads. He runs into some of us. We wind up becoming friends. He lends his name and influence to help us get in some places. That helped. But the long and short of it was we just didn't have the right pieces completely in place to make things work. We brought in some consultants. They did some good things for us, but we still were literally in 2017 going into that year or into the end of that year as deer season was approaching, not really sure what the future was going to be like for our company.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the sales to support the expenses we were incurring in maintaining and operating the facility. Jeff was considering retiring, and so we really said, gosh, we've done all this, and we don't know what the future really looks like. During that deer season, I mentioned earlier we have a venison processing facility. We hired a young man who I'd known pretty much all of his life. He's about my boy's age. He's now about 40 years old. And he was working for us during that venison season. We always have to have extra people on hand. He's a super talented guy, but he was trying to sort of figure out his path. And as we got to the end of that deer season, which would have been spring of 2018, I met with Jeff. We were deciding about some things that we had to do to sort of move forward. And he said, David, I just think it's time for me to go in a different direction. Jeff's a great guy. He's a small country church pastor, wonderful guy, loves the Lord, and he said, I've got an opportunity to do something more meaningful in that regard, and things just haven't quite worked the way we had hoped. And I said, well, Jeff, I wish you well. You've been loyal. You've worked hard. We've got some things we've got to get done. Do you think Dustin, and the young man I'm talking about is Dustin Kilgore, who's now our manager, can Dustin handle it? He said, no doubt. I said, great. I'll call Dustin. I called Dustin. We had a meeting. I said, Dustin, here's where we are. Not sure what the future holds. We're willing to give you an opportunity to see what you can do. If everything stays on the timeline that we expect, Jeff is going to step down June the 1st, 2018. That's not even 4 years, Cam.
Yeah.
Not even 4 years ago. And if you're willing, June the 1st will be your first day as our new manager, and we're going to do an evaluation period and see what happens. And that's what we did. And Dustin, I think being younger and a little more accustomed to technology and some other things that are a little more modern way of doing things, figured out some things that made us more efficient, showed me some numbers. He started communicating with meat market managers, made some good contact. He's a very personable guy as well as a very capable person on the production side. By the end of the summer, we had seen a noticeable uptick.
No kidding. Good for Dustin.
Yeah, good for Dustin. And that in no way is meant to put down anything that Jeff did.
Sure.
Jeff did a great job and did things very well, but there were some technology things that Dustin just was more comfortable with.
Right.
So we get to the end of the summer. It's about Labor Day, and another deer season's right around the corner. And deer season's a very profitable time for us. That's a whole different world, but it's all part of the same company, and a lot of activity goes on then, and more activity means you're spreading cost over a lot more units of whatever. So we're at the fall, and we get a call from our broker in Birmingham. We work with a group in Birmingham called Active Sales. And interestingly, the broker that we use has a direct Mobile connection. He was highly recommended to us by Danny Manning and Casey Constantine with the Mobile and Baldwin County Piggly Wiggly store group.
Yeah.
And they recommended Doug, and Doug said, David, I know we had some struggles. Are you going to come up to this big food show in Birmingham? I said, well, things are, yeah, I'm coming. So went to Birmingham, met with Doug, and while we were there, we made a decision. We'd been tinkering around with someone else to provide bacon for us to sell under our label.
Yeah.
And Doug had a recommendation that we make a change there, and we did. And that gave us some more momentum.
Yeah.
And as we went through the fall of 2018, we said things are really showing some promise that we had not seen in the past.
Yeah.
I didn't mention earlier, and I don't mean to divert, but we do a lot of sales through Cisco.
Yeah.
And Cisco had been very, I will say, patient with us, and we struggled. And they knew that we had not done some things that we had planned to do. And so I went over and met with Cisco. They have a distribution warehouse in Geneva. It's called Cisco Gulf Coast. And basically said to the meat buyer, I know we haven't lived up to expectations. We're kind of having a restart right now. We've had some personnel changes. We've got a little momentum. You know, if you'll give us a chance, you know, I will personally, and I mean me personally, get involved on the sales side and communicating with our warehouses and with our larger purchasers, and I'll give it everything I've got, and the company will. And they could have very easily have said, David, you seem like a nice guy. We like your product, but hey, you know, we're just not getting there.
Yeah.
But they didn't say that. They said, good enough. You know, you do what you say, we'll give you that leverage or that opportunity. And they did. And all of a sudden things picked up with Cisco, and it was very rewarding to see the change.
Give me a sense of volume change from 2018 to today. You talk about it beginning to turn around, momentum shifting. Do you have any numbers you can share?
Yeah, I do. I do have some numbers. And let me say, as I explained earlier, at 2018, we were not even sure what we were going to continue doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2018 is a pretty low bar to measure against. 2019's numbers tripled 2018's numbers.
No kidding.
But again, you know, if you're selling $100 worth and now you're selling $300 worth, you tripled. If you need to be selling $1,000 worth, you're still a long way away.
Yeah, I got you.
So then 2020 rolls around, COVID.
Yeah.
2020, we doubled 2019, which means we were 6 times what we had done in 2018. 2021, we're up about 43% over 2020.
Yeah.
Of course, the percentage increase gets harder to jump up when your numbers are increasing.
Sure.
But we've seen incredible growth. Now, that being said, are we where we need to be? No.
No. We're not at capacity.
No, we're not at capacity, and we're not we don't have the distribution right this minute that we ultimately need. However, about 6 weeks ago, Cisco approved us to go into their Birmingham. The warehouse is actually at Calera, just south of Birmingham. That warehouse and the one in Atlanta.
Nice. Yeah. Atlanta could be huge.
Yeah, really will be.
Tell me about the product. I mean, here's carte blanche. Tell me why your sausage is different. What makes it so fantastic?
Okay, the primary difference in us and other smoked link sausage is 2 things: is the meat, the leaner meat that we use, and a slightly coarser grind to that meat. So when you get something that's leaner and you're not grinding it up quite as fine, you've got more texture, coarseness, bite to the sausage. That's a noticeable difference in us and our primary competitors. Everybody's spice blend is its own. There's similarities. There are certain things that are in everybody's spice. There are certain minor differences in the amounts of, say, sage or something else that you may use. And that certainly is a factor with some people. But the noticeable difference is the 2 things I just said.
Yeah.
It's the leaner meat. We use an 80-20 lean to fat ratio compared to a fattier version that other companies use. And if you're eating sausage, Cam, you're not especially worried about fat, or you wouldn't be eating sausage.
That's the point.
But our position is you can eat a leaner, healthier version of that great tasting link smoked sausage that everybody talks about in the South.
Where do you get your hogs?
We buy our meat from JBS, our nationwide supplier. They're based up in, I think, Sioux City, Iowa, but our contact is outside of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so we don't actually obviously slaughter hogs in Beatrice. The pork shoulder meat comes into us in these big 2,000-pound, what's called a combo, and is shipped direct into us from one of their facilities, normally somewhere in the Midwest.
I love the story of your growth. I love the story of your perseverance. I love the story of you doubling down. I mean, you opened the facility post Hurricane Ivan, and then you thought that would be good enough because it would sell itself, and then you had to double down again. And one of the themes that we hear consistently on this show is people in great positions of success, and I'm looking at you right now, persevering, going through it over and over again. And let's pick this up after break, because I think this gives insight into the company and to the people that make up the company. And we'll talk about that when we get back. I'm in the studio today with David Steele. He's the managing partner of Monroe Meat Company in Beatrice, Alabama. Monroe Sausage, if you see it on the shelf at the grocery store, pick some up. You'll now know the story behind the sausage. We'll be back after this break. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culverhouse College of Business at the University of Alabama.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I'm right here in Mobile to help you select the right protection at the right price. I'll make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With me as your State Farm agent, it's easy to make the right choice. You can come by, call, or click AllisonHorner.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate at the Culverhouse College of Business, all at the University of Alabama. In the studio with David Steele, managing partner, Monroe Meat Company, Beatrice, Alabama, hearing a wonderful story about an organization that began in the 40s making sausage for the locals and was resurrected after the facility was destroyed by Hurricane Ivan. A group of investors got together, thought it would sell itself, and found that isn't exactly what happened. So they threw their efforts into recreating the company and are now seeing extraordinary growth. David, I want to talk to you about the company and the people and the purpose of the organization. But now in a kind of a post-COVID time, there's a lot of uncertainty in our economy right now. We're seeing incredible interest rates. There are people that are circling the wagons that are saying it's time to play defense. What is your position with the economy right now? Are you guys just are you bearing down to hold on, or are you saying here is a time for opportunity?
It's really for us a time of opportunity. We think we've got to look beyond circling the wagons, if you will. For one thing, we still need growth to be really sustainable in the way that we all had hoped that we would be. So it's no time to shrink back. At the same time, you have to be smart. You can't just chase every opportunity. You have to look at the things that are out there. That's one reason the Cisco opportunity that I mentioned earlier is so important, because we've got a good track record with them in Gulf Coast, and that's what led to their approval in Atlanta and Birmingham. As a matter of fact, had it not been for COVID, that probably would have happened before now. But if it had happened before now, I'm not sure that we would have been prepared from a production standpoint to meet that challenge.
That's an interesting insight. You're almost grateful it didn't happen when it could have happened.
There are several things that happened at certain times or didn't happen at certain times that we may not have been able to have taken advantage of, without totally going down, a whole different line of thinking. There's so many things about the way, especially when we were coming out of that real challenging period before we kind of had our restart in 2018.
Right.
We were second-guessing so many things, and then things began to happen, Cam, that we didn't do anything to create. opportunities would present themselves. I give a couple of examples from the more recent past. I was in Birmingham going to the wedding party and met a guy who writes for AL.com, and he did a fantastic article for us, and that turned out great, got us a lot of buzz. We get an email one day from Governor Ivey's office that we have been nominated and are one of 12 companies selected for Governor Ivey's inaugural Made in Alabama showcase.
No kidding.
Didn't seek these things, and as it turns out, that the recognition ceremony for that and the release of the AL.com article by a great guy named Bob Carlton happened at about the same time. All of a sudden, we were getting all these emails and phone calls and online orders, and it's like, what's going on? And we just try to be, number one, grateful when things like that happen, and then we try to evaluate it and use it in the right way to grow in a sustainable sort of way. Because of those things, and for one thing, we're sort of made that way. That's who we are as a group of people. We believe in doing something beyond ourselves.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's. And by the way, I refer to what you're describing there as luck surface area. When you do the right thing, and when you throw yourself into something, and you tell people about your passion and commitment towards it, you increase your luck surface area, and things begin to come your way. You can't exactly describe it, but luck surface area, in my opinion and in my experience, is a real thing when you're doing it for the right reasons. Tell me about the company and the people and the purpose of your organization beyond cleaning deer and butchering venison and beyond making delicious sausage. What's the purpose? Who are you guys?
Well, one reason, because we wanted to bring the sausage back, but we built our facility in Beatrice because it's a place that's economically struggling.
Yeah.
Provide some jobs, provide some economic boost. That was part of our thinking. To better our community and small town America, which is, anybody who looks at those numbers realizes that's not an easy circumstance these days. And then when we begin to partner up with others, a couple I want to mention real quick. Coca-Cola works with us every year in doing a disabled veterans hunt. There's another group that's gotten involved in the last couple of years called Iron Men Outdoor Ministries. These are Christian-based groups, and we have an opportunity to impact people. And we let them shoot deer. They have a great time. We feed them sausage. The community does a big lunch, a hunter's appreciation lunch, invites the veterans, invites all the other hunters in the area. We'll feed 150 people on a Saturday and have a great weekend of activity. There's the Kamado Joe Grill Company.
Yeah.
Went to an event at Orange Beach at the wharf and just ran into the culinary director for Kamado Joe. Super guy. We became friends. We now ship product to him that he uses. His name's Eric Gephardt. That he uses in cooking demonstrations literally all over North America.
Fantastic.
And I posted today, just to give you a sense again of kind of who we are. I posted a Facebook message today from Eric, who is currently on the Polish-Ukraine border, working with a group that has served about 5 million meals in that region since the war broke out.
No kidding.
And people like Eric, people like my good friend A.C. Campbell with Coca-Cola, those guys see something beyond distributing Coca-Cola, distributing Monroe Sausage, selling Kamado Joe grills, being great chefs. I mean, these people are all those things. They're good at what they do, but they see what they do as a way to reach other people.
They serve.
Absolutely.
They serve. And the business that they're in is the framework through which they can serve one another.
Absolutely.
And I can't tell you, David, the number of guests that have sat in that chair right there who have remarkable success stories who say it's because I serve that the business has done well, or people sense that about us and want to do business. Even a friend of mine, I was with him a couple of weeks ago, is in the car business. He's like, man, We are in the car business, but we're here to serve the fellow man, and the car business is the way we do it. And it's remarkable the number of stories out there like yours. And retention problems tend to not be issues in organizations like this. Recruiting problems tend not to be issues. People want to be there. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me the feeling of the organization.
Well, this past Friday, we had a lunch for all the employees. We're winding, believe it or not, Kim, deer season ended February the 10th. We are still processing.
Are you really?
We had to rent 2 freezers and debone and bag meat because of the time it was going to take to properly handle it and get it turned around. So that's just about winding up. Another week or so. We had lunch, fed all the employees, thanked them for what they've done. Some of these guys and gals are seasonal people. But we said, look, we thank you for what you've done for us. We thank you for coming out here and working hard and taking pride in what you do. We thank you that as part of our company, and as Christians who want to go out there and say, how can we make things better in Beatrice? How can we make things better in a larger area? How can we be friends to and supportive of a guy like Eric who's in Ukraine or on the border?
No kidding.
And you would never think, in a little place like Beatrice, that you could be part of something that's having that kind of influence. And so our mindset really is if we take care of that sort of attitude toward who we are, and we're true to who we are, then the part of selling and all those things will take care of themselves. Is it challenging? You better believe it is. All these supply chain issues have impacted us. The volatility in pricing, it is really tough right now. Anybody who's dealing in our kind of industry and other industries as well realizes that we're in a tough environment. But if we don't lose sight of the bigger things and we pay attention to the detail of the day-to-day operations, we can get through that, and ultimately everything benefits because of it.
Yeah, no kidding. You remind me of one of the guests we've had, Marquise Forge with 1186 Water, wanted to bring industry back to Autauguaville, Alabama. And they bottle in millions of bottles of water now. And a very spiritually driven man, a spiritually driven company. Focus on the big picture, mind the details. Yeah. It's a similar theme over and over again.
Yeah, they were one of the companies at the showcase in Montgomery. So I met them there.
I that's the only bottled water I buy. I still look at my kids and say, the sink has got a faucet on it, and it's good water coming out of that. They'll only buy they prefer the bottled water. So you're now in occurred to me, you're now in distribution in Cisco in Atlanta, or it's forthcoming.
Yeah, we've been approved, and the process there is that we have to go, we have to meet with some of the sales. They have what they call sales teams or sales districts, and we meet with some of those, and then those sales reps give us input as to, well, go see this restaurant, go see this group. Yes,
you got to put your selling shoes on back again.
And my daughter-in-law, I have 2 sons. One lives here in Mobile. He and his wife are both practicing attorneys. My other son lives in Atlanta with his wife and two boys, and she is actually our sales coordinator.
Oh, wonderful!
And of course that's doing online and so forth. But now with the Atlanta opportunity, and she was just down. They were down last week. I said, "Okay, Meredith. It's time to put your shoes on, hit the road."
Time to go to work in an old-fashioned way of looking people in the eye. One of the themes I've heard from you, David, is that some of your successes have come from going and sitting and meeting with these people, the people in Birmingham, the people at Cisco. You looked them in the eye. You didn't Zoom it. You didn't call it.
There is a significant benefit to personal, face-to-face relationships. I don't care what anybody else says about Zoom and email, and those things are beneficial. Yeah. They have their place. But I had a guy last week tell me, he said, "David, I cannot remember the last time that someone with the company, much less one of the owners, came in here and talked to me about their product and asked me to support what they were trying to do."
I love it. David, the product is Monroe Sausage. It's available. I'm looking at the outlets here. Piggly Wiggly all over the state of Alabama. Rouse's, I know I get mine from Rouse's here in Mobile. And it's now available, you tell me, some places in Mississippi and perhaps even the eastern parts of Louisiana?
Primarily through Rouse's, and then some of these other, and the Piggly Wiggly and associated grocers warehouses in Birmingham have distribution usually along the the eastern edge of Mississippi, like Meridian, over toward Jackson, some down toward the coast, yes, and into southern Tennessee, yes.
Monroe Sausage, folks. Look for it in your grocer. You're supporting a good man, a good company, in business for the right reasons. David, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Cam. Enjoyed it.
I'll be back after this break with final comments. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, housed at the Culverhouse College of Business, all at the University of Alabama. Be right back.
This is Trey Langus with Transworld Business Advisors. You've worked for years to grow and build your business, and now you're considering an exit strategy. Selling your business can be intimidating and complex. Let our local team at Transworld Business Advisors help you. We are the largest business brokerage in the world, and I will personally and confidentially guide you through this process. I'm Trey Langus. Find me at Transworld Business Advisors or Google my name.
Hi, I'm Chef Jewel at Fairhope Chocolate. When I'm not creating the best couverture chocolate creations south of the Mason-Dixon line, I'm listening to What's Working with Cam Marston. Now, back to the show.
David Steele brought samples. In fact, he brought swag, food swag, I guess you could say, gifts, and he handed it to me after the interview was over, or we would have talked about it on the air. But I got them with me. They're in my refrigerator. They're going to get cooked up Saturday morning. My kids and whoever they have spending the night over here are going to get a Saturday morning treat, and I can't wait. I myself am going to get a Saturday morning treat as well. Thank you, David. Thank you so much for your generosity. We're pulling for you, my friend. We're pulling for you. And if What's Working can do anything for you, I hope you'll reach out, because your story is one of perseverance and overcoming adversity and continuing on. Man, it's such a great theme. And the book that I'm always talking about has that theme in over and over again. People who are meet big adversity, yet come on through it and keep pushing, keep their head down and keep pushing through. Don't look at the big picture. Look at the details and throw your fate into a larger purpose. I heard that from David, and I've heard it through so many guests, and I have to remind myself of that every day myself. Manage the details, throw your future into a larger purpose, and things tend to work out. It doesn't mean you're going to be fabulously wealthy and have a 200-meter yacht, but things tend to work out if you can do that, and it's not easy. Thank you, David. So we're talking about the book. I don't have a good update for you right now. It shouldn't be too much longer. I've been talking about that forever. We're talking about the succession planning seminar late May. I don't have those details in front of me as I'm recording this. Shame on me. But it is a Thursday in late May. If you're leaving your company and want to know how to manage this transition, reach out to me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's talk about that. If you are taking over a larger role within an organization, you need to be there too. Show is produced by John Thompson with Ion Digital. Thank you, John. As always, you can find the show at what'sworkingcam.com, where you can subscribe to podcasts. You can forward it on to your friends from that site, people you feel need to see it, or hear it rather. Love to have you. What's Working is brought to you by the Alabama Center for Real Estate, Culverhouse College of Business, University of Alabama. Another show next week.